Welcome to Horizons of Thought. Today I'm speaking to you from managed isolation in New Zealand. Yesterday, my flight from Singapore to New Zealand arrived. When I landed in New Zealand, like everybody traveling from another country into New Zealand in the time of this pandemic, I am required by law to go into managed isolation for 14 days. So you land at the airport, and it's normal, like other landings at first. You land, there's somebody at the terminal to greet you. You walk over to process yourself in like you would in any immigration situation through border and customs control. You then pick up your luggage. They ask you the standard and very rigorous questions about the content of your luggage for New Zealand. And if you have any food, you typically have to open up the suitcase that has the food in it, and they're going to examine carefully to make sure that all the food that you have is okay. That was completely normal, and the only difference between that and any other normal experience at an airport is I was required by law to wear a face mask at the time. At that point, though, things change a little bit, and they start handling you for managed quarantine. Once all the rest of this is processed, you'll be greeted by 2 or 3 military people in the nicer camouflage outfits, and they will tell you that you're going to go to a particular place and stand until everybody from the flight arrives. My flight was incredibly tiny and only had 9 people on it. They then put you onto a bus and they describe what your life in managed quarantine is going to be like. The rules in New Zealand have actually changed slightly. In managed quarantine now, you have to do 3 COVID-19 tests. They're the horrible nose swab tests that many of you have had that have probably convinced more people to believe in conspiracy theories than anything else that has gone on in this entire pandemic and possibly all of it combined, because they're a very unpleasant test. Now, having said that, everything else is fine. You get to the hotel, you get out, and it's a lot like a normal check-in, but the difference is you have 2 people that you talk to before you do the check-in part. So they got somebody who asks you basic health questions and tests to make sure that you don't have a high temperature, and they have another person talk to you. I actually can't remember what the second one does, but the third one is the one who gives you your packet and your room key and your Wi-Fi password. And you actually take your suitcases up yourself to their room and put yourself in the room. Oh yeah, sorry, the second one. Now I remember. They give you a purple version of this wristband. The purple wristband is to remind you that you're not allowed to leave your room at all until they do that COVID-19 swab test and the results come back negative. So you go to your room, you start to unpack. Within an hour, they come and they do that test. The test is very strictly controlled. The person has you open the door, lean against the door, keep your head up. They stick the cotton swab in your nose. They do the swab, and altogether too deeply and too long. They pull the swab out, put it away, tag it, and go. You're going to get your test results within 48 hours. I actually just got my test results, which is why I'm wearing a blue armband. Blue armband means I'm actually allowed out of my room during exercise times. I still don't know the exact procedure for that, so I'm going to be phoning the phone and figuring that out tomorrow when I want to go get some exercise. Now, this is not a normal hotel stay. I'm going to show you the room, and you're going to see it's a beautiful room. I'm staying at the Distinction Hotel in Christchurch. It is right in the downtown, next to the currently being reconstructed Christchurch Cathedral. It is a beautiful hotel. If you were paying for this normally, you would pay a lot of money to stay here, and for good reason, as you're going to see when you see this room. I'll pick this up. You can see me walk around the room, and there's the room. It has 2 queen-sized beds. It's got a nice table. It's got a very nice flat screen TV that I've hooked a Nintendo Switch up to. It's really excellent. It's got some decent corporate art on the wall. It's got this area here. And in fact, as you see me move the camera around, it has a nice little exercise area once I move the table. And this exercise area will let me keep in shape for the next 2 weeks before I can finally go back to box fit. And now I'm going to walk myself back to my position and continue this video log. So, the hotel room is really nice and it's very pleasant, but it's not like a normal hotel room. In that I can't go out of the room and go use the gym. When I want to get exercise tomorrow, I will be given an opportunity while wearing my face mask to be in a quadrangle area and walk around and stretch. But you can't do hard exercise outside of your room because they're worried that hard exercise will help spread COVID-19. So that's not good enough for me by any stretch of the imagination. I need to do hard exercise 2 to 3 times a week just to stay sane. So I will be moving the table over and doing hard exercise in that corner. I'm also working on a project where we're going to be recording ventilation and other stuff, and I'll tell you more about that once we have secured permission from the funding agency to describe and present onto YouTube the details of that particular project. But we're actually trying to make sure that there's enough airflow in the rooms and to see whether the air purifier devices that they sell on the market would be good enough to substitute when airflow isn't quite enough. Because hotels only circulate air about 2 to 3 times every hour, and that isn't quite as much as we might want in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19 from supercarriers, which some people are, to staff that are working in managed isolation. So anyways, nice hotel room. The food comes to you 3 times a day, or less if you want, because you actually get to decide whether you get breakfast, whether you get a lunch, whether you get a dinner, and exactly what it is you want. And they give you a menu choice, typically between 2 different types of meat and a vegetarian option. And you get to basically choose what you want for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and what you want to drink. If you want to buy alcohol in this country, you're allowed to buy 1 bottle of wine, or 6 bottles of beer, or 4 bottles of another alcoholic drink like coolers to drink each day, which is quite a lot for many of us, and more than I will certainly be drinking each day. But I do know that there have been people who wish they could have even more. So, there are some big ranges in the amount that people drink in this country. But the reason why they're limiting the amount of alcohol to that is they figure that's an amount of alcohol that people can drink and not get too drunk or do something incredibly silly, which requires the poor military guards who are handling the security here to have to do something about somebody who got drunk and disorderly. Now, that's another thing that I would say about this. It's also not like a hotel stay because you are under a security guard situation. The military is guarding all of the places to make sure that people don't sneak out of the hotel or break any of the rules. Now, some people might be disturbed by this. I've certainly got some emails from friends who found the idea that managed quarantine is run by the military disturbing. I don't. They were originally running the security through private security firms, and they had some issues, including some people who snuck out. And it just turns out that it's better to have the military do this for several reasons. One, they're already being paid. They're already on the payroll to do other military jobs. You can reassign them to this kind of work. And this basically saves the government money. This whole process is quite expensive. We're all being put up in 3, mostly 4 and 5-star hotels that are as nice as the one you're seeing here, or at least almost as nice as the one you're seeing here. It costs a lot of money. They're getting some of that money back from those of us in managed quarantine. I'm been expected to pay $3,100 for the 2 weeks that I'm here. But I've seen the price of this particular hotel, and I know that I'm not paying the entire fee just based on the hotel price, let alone based on the security, the food, and all the other stuff that has to be done and taken care of for us. So I'm quite grateful that New Zealand is subsidizing this and that I'm in such a nice space. But yes, they needed to have security because this is a country that cannot afford to have COVID-19 spread around until the vaccine starts getting through to people in the country, because the medical system here is already strained to its limits, and even a little bit more strain on it would be very hard. And also, whatever you think of the actual dangerousness of COVID-19, and I think everybody who watches my vlog knows that I think it's not as dangerous as is presented in the news by any stretch. At the same time, it does spread quickly. A lot of people are afraid of it, and it would dramatically change the landscape of living in New Zealand if COVID-19 was around here. I just spent a month living in Singapore, where you have to wear a face mask everywhere you go. I hate, with a burning, fiery passion, hate face masks. And I'm very grateful that when I leave this facility, I don't have to wear them anymore. Do not like face masks. So, yeah, there are different choices that were made, and this one at least rescues me from face masks, and I get to live in, as Stephen Colbert put it, a magical places where hugs still happen. I like hugging. It's good. So, that's my basic introduction to day one of this place. I'll finish by saying that I've now had 4 meals here. All of the food ranges anywhere from decent to excellent at this point. The portions are perfectly reasonable. They're not too much. They're not too little. You can ask for more if you need it. You can say you don't want particular items on the menu. You have a lot of choices. And they give you decent cutlery and decent plates to eat from, and you have access to people if you have issues with your well-being or stuff you want to do at the hotel. You get to wash 20 items of clothing over a 2-week period, which means that you can at least keep your inner clothing nice and clean. And that is quite nice because nobody wants to smell bad. Nobody wants their clothing to go bad. They want to be able to keep clean. They want to be able to exercise. They want to be able to eat. And they want to be able to communicate. And as you can see, we also have free Wi-Fi here. And you know this because I've just uploaded this video to the internet and you're watching it right now, which meant I had to have communication methods. I've had no trouble with the internet here. It's excellent and high quality. And I've been able to communicate back and forth flawlessly. So far, I'm quite happy. I'll definitely be glad to leave because I do want my full freedom back, and I recognize that my freedom is restricted for 14 days. It is not the same as being in a hotel. I'll say that a third time. But they are treating me well. The conditions are good. The food is good. And it's overall quite a pleasant experience. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Horizon of Thought. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments section. I will be doing more vlogs on what it's like to be in managed quarantine here in New Zealand, and I will give you more of an update about how I feel as I've been doing this for more days. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and see you in a few days.